women who get together with other women are healthier, happier, and stronger.
Now we can make some figure eights with our hips. Figure eight, figure eight, figure eight, figure eight. Woo!
By the time I met Mickey, I had already contemplated suicide and I was developing a plan. That's how dark my life had gotten.
Because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me.
Welcome to Prime Time for Women, the show for and about women in their prime. My name is Bernadette Wagner, and it's such a privilege to host this program that celebrates strong women who are willing to tackle challenges, women who are purpose-driven to make a difference, and women who care passionately about others. Today, it is with mixed emotions that I welcome our first guest. I feel both gratitude and admiration for Lorraine Seiler Young. I also feel sympathy and compassion for her incredible loss. You see, her younger sister, Donna Seiler, after following all the prescribed recommendations of the legal system meant to keep her safe, lost her life to domestic violence just 2 months after she got married. Recently, on November 1st, Lorraine and Donna's daughter, Mandy Michael, organized a walk to call attention to domestic violence, which sadly can happen to anyone, women, men, children, between spouses, and even friends. No one is immune to domestic violence. For Lorraine and Mandy, the walk was a way to create something positive from their tragic loss. They hope that by educating the public about available community resources for those in abusive relationships, they can prevent similar tragedies in the future. Lorraine, thank you for being here on Prime Time for Women, and I do want to say once again, I'm sorry for your loss of your beloved sister.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Lorraine, you have said to me that it's important to you to talk about this. How important? What does it mean to you to talk about your sister's murder?
Well, it lets the world know that she did have a voice, that she was someone. Domestic violence sometimes gets brushed under the rug. A lot of people know about it, but they don't know that there's help out there. There's sources that can be rendering help to someone that may feel helpless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. So that makes sense. I spoke to Mandy Michael, your niece, Donna's daughter, and she said that the two of you were partners in trying to shed light on this hidden and often undiscussed topic. How does talking about this in general create awareness, and what does it do for you and Mandy?
Well, actually, it's causing us to heal. This has been devastating for our family to lose Donna. Mm-hmm. Our minds just can't grip everything that had gone on. But I also feel that if we can get the information out to someone, just even if it's just one person, that there is help out there. There's organizations like CASA that is there, that can provide all the help that you need, that can counsel you, that can provide shelter, but they can also help you maneuver through the process.
Right.
And a lot of people are not aware of that. And so what they are is they're just suffering in silence.
Yeah, they're isolated.
Right.
Right, right. So what is it like for you when you talk about your sister? And I guess what I want to know is if you would be willing to share a little verbal picture of her. What was she like? She was,
She was adventurous.
Adventurous.
And she was strong. Mm-hmm. If she liked you, she loved you. She had friends that were still in touch and so active in their life from high school, from elementary school.
Yeah.
She was there. She was outspoken. So if she felt that something was wrong, Donna would be the first one to sit there and say, this is wrong.
Right.
But she was also there, if you were wronged, to pick you up.
Right.
And I've never seen my sister scared till the last week.
Yeah, so you have told me before that she was smart and now she's outgoing and kind. Yes. So by all accounts, she was a really good judge of character, but she wound up in this vulnerable relationship. Is there something that you think was underlying how that happened?
I think I know for a fact.
What do you think happened?
My sister had lost her son, and the way that he had passed and then losing my father to cancer 2 months afterwards. I believe threw my sister into deep depression, and it also, her grief blogged her mind. I saw a huge difference in my sister.
And you know what, there's so much more that we want to hear about this story, but I know that Donna, she got married and she took steps to get out of that relationship. When we come back, would you tell us a little bit about that?
I will.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read,
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
are their patients. Meritus Medical Group, home to your extraordinary doctor.
Seems like everyone you meet today claims to be a content creator. Well, at Antietam Media Services, we're much more than just content creators. We're producers, directors, and editors that are never afraid to roll up our sleeves and bring our expertise to you. From full-blown live multicam productions live streamed to the world, to single-camera commercial production, we've got the gear, we've got the people, and we've got the drive to give your event or business the exposure it deserves. We've been doing this since 1981, and Antietam Media Services has produced tens of thousands of hours of live content and thousands of commercials that put your name on the networks and on the digital platforms that provide you the biggest return on investment. It's a big world out there, and we're ready to help you tell your story. Call, email, or log on to AntietamMediaServices.com and tell us more about your project. 4 decades of experience and never afraid of a challenge. We're Antietam Media Services.
Lorraine Seiler is joining us on today's show not only to talk about domestic violence as it impacted her sister and her family, but the goal of reducing domestic violence for everyone. So Lorraine, your sister had taken a lot of steps to keep herself safe and to get out of what she considered an abusive relationship. What happened there?
Well, she did everything that she was told to do. He attacked her a week before he murdered her, and she went to court, had him locked up, and he was released. He was out on bail, so she went in front of the judge to get a temporary restraining. Then she had to go back the following week. We went with her to get a permanent, which would last for a year. Donna was making preparations. She went and did everything. She was telling everybody, he has a gun and he's going to kill me. And because of, and I'm not saying lackadaisical, but he kept telling the police, I don't have it. And that was the actual gun that he ended up killing her with. Mm-hmm. And then what happened the day after she got her permanent, he ambushed her.
Wow.
And shot her in the street.
Yeah, so, you know, that story is so sad, so I'm sorry again. In doing research on this topic, I learned that in the U.S., 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner. That equates to 10 million people per year. That's a lot of violence. Did you have any idea before this happened to your sister that this was going on, or?
No. Mm-hmm. I've never been around domestic violence where it has escalated to where there was problems. He started with the verbal, and then, you know.
And it happened very quickly after they got married.
It escalated within a month, mm-hmm. To where it went from being verbal and screaming and yelling to where he actually physically hurt her. And then from where he physically hurt her to where he murdered her. Okay. So we had a week.
I understand your desire to inform others. You want to prevent this. And although men are often sometimes victims of domestic abuse, it looks like women like Donna are victims of murder-suicide 94% of cases. What laws are pending that you hope to, or are being considered that you hope to advocate for?
Well, I did a little research, and there is a law that if you violate, that is still pending, and I'm hoping that it does get passed, that if you violate your protection order, you are automatically locked up. There is no ifs and buts about it. He violated the protection order 3 times, and nothing was done. But if he would have been locked up, and I believe that if people see that if you have a protection order against you and you violate that, you're going to be locked up, I believe that that will make a difference.
Yeah. And I also read that in homes where there is a gun, there's a 500% increase that domestic violence will lead to a fatality than in homes where there's not a gun. So that's, you know, we need to make sure that people who are violent don't have those guns.
Right, they need to be a little more forceful when it comes to it. If the spouse is saying there is a gun,
right,
and if they turn around and they say the person that's, you know, going after them, be it the wife or be it the husband, and they say, oh no, we don't have it. Well, it needs to be stricter as to, then you prove that you don't have the gun.
Right. So another thing I wanted to ask you about, you talk about your sister was grieving the death of her son.
Yes.
What role does domestic violence, or does depression play in domestic violence?
I believe that it causes the person that's the victim not to think clearly. I believe that it clouds their thought process. I believe that they look at it a little differently than what they should have. I don't think my sister, before my father had passed and Michael had died, that my sister would have ever allowed any of this or even allowed him into her life.
So that really speaks to the importance of getting grief counseling when you have a significant loss.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Sure. Lorraine, what can citizens and activists do to help improve the laws, and what organizations are out there to support people?
Well, I think if you become a voice and you get out there and just, you know, don't stop. If you see something that's wrong, you need to voice it, but you need to do it properly. There's groups like CASA who I have fallen madly in love with in their family. They've embraced us. Even though my sister has passed, they're still there for us. They have a number of things that can help you.
Let me just read this real quickly. They have a 24-hour hotline, a domestic violence program, a rape crisis program, legal services, abuse intervention programs, children's groups, support groups.
Yes.
They're out there.
Yes.
Okay. And I did want to mention too that I recently read an article where they were talking about the secret signal, and I'll just share this with our viewers. If you're in a domestic violence situation, do a fist but lock your thumb inside, and it's a signal to others that you're looking for support but you don't feel safe saying it.
Right.
Right. So Lorraine, with Donna's death, what is the one bit of advice that you want to pass on today?
Reach out.
Reach out.
If you see something going on or you suspect something, call a group. Get an expert's advice. They'll talk to you even if you're not the victim. So if I would have called for my sister saying that she was afraid to call, they would have given me the right direction. Reach out. Don't sit back. You know, doesn't matter who gets mad, but you need to protect them and you need to do it safely. So that's why I say reach out, call CASA. Okay. Call them and say, this is the situation, and they will guide you. They will
Lorraine,
guide you.
thank you so much for being on today's program. By sharing her sister's story, Lorraine speaks for her and for all those who can no longer speak for themselves. And she also pays tribute to those who have shown tremendous courage in extricating themselves from abusive situations. Jean McElvaney, the well-known healer and author of Spirit Unbroken, once said, quote, "You can recognize the survivors of abuse by their courage. When silence is so very inviting, they step forward and share their truth so others know that they aren't alone." We are taping this show just 1 week before Thanksgiving. In the spirit of Thanksgiving and gratitude, I'd like to thank Lorraine for her courage and for reminding all of us that we are not alone. As I always say on Prime Time for Women, we are healthier, happier, and stronger together. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read,
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
are their patients. Meritus Medical Group, home to your extraordinary doctor.
With over 50,000 square feet of merchandise, chances are Labor's has what you need. And right now, the best way to shop is to browse laborsfurniture.com. Just pick out what you need and we can deliver your furniture to your home or office. Of course, Labor's carries office furniture and home furnishings, but did you know they also carry cleaning supplies and paper products? Labor's has a lot more than you might think, and right now, they will deliver right to your door. Family owned and operated, that's Labor's Furniture. Open to serve our community when you need us the most.
The DVR. It's changed the way we watch TV. And now, Antietam Broadband takes you to the next level with TiVo. Find your favorites on cable or streaming video faster with voice-activated integrated search. Record up to 6 channels at once and watch from any TV in your home. TiVo from Antietam Broadband. It will change your life. Call today or visit AntietamBroadband.com to learn more.
Life is a wild ride sometimes. This time last year, who would have imagined that we would be in the 10th month of a worldwide pandemic? COVID-19 has wrought many hardships. That can't be denied. People have been and still are suffering. Over 250,000 people have lost their lives and many more have been incredibly sick. This pandemic has impacted people's ability to work, to connect with their family and friends, to go to school or pursue recreational activities or volunteer in their communities or even gather in their houses of worship. The stresses are very real, and yet people are resilient. I am amazed by the creative and what seems to be limitless coping strategies people have developed. COVID-related closures have increased time at home and have allowed many people to explore new or rediscover old hobbies. Hobbies aren't only fun, they have a way of connecting us with our passion and to each other. Recent research identified 15 pastimes and hobbies that have soared since COVID. Other than watching TV, reading, and exercising, crafting, such as knitting and crocheting, saw the greatest increase. Our next guest knows a thing or two about knitting and crocheting and understands its increase in popularity. Melissa Noel is co-owner, along with her husband, Brian, of The Yarn Shop, a local store located at 98 West Washington Street. She joins us today to share her story of learning to knit and crochet as a way of dealing with stress. In her own words, quote, "I simply needed to refocus my mind and on a whim decided knitting would be the way to do it." Welcome, Melissa. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you're a very busy woman. In addition to the yarn shop, you and your husband own several other businesses. You're a mother to 3 and a grandmother to Aubrey. Let me ask you, does knitting really refocus your mind? Is it as relaxing as you'd hoped it would be?
It is. After you get the hang of it, you really get into the flow of the clicking of the needles, or if you're crocheting a nice project, and it really does relax you.
Okay, great. Can you tell us your story in your own words of why you decided to learn how to knit? What was going on in your life at that time?
Back in 2008 is when I started to learn how to knit. We had been in business with Noel's Fire Protection for about 4 years. So it was a fledgling company. And the recession hit. And I had never been through the recession before, obviously. Nobody really in my generation had been. But we were kind of struggling how to make it. It was very stressful, and we had several employees, and I was very worried during that time period. I just happened to have been walking through a craft store, and I thought, I think I'm going to learn how to knit. I just needed to take my mind off of my daily problems. And that's what I did. I went ahead and just picked up a book and taught myself how to knit.
So you didn't use like videos or have a teacher or a mentor? You learned it from a book?
I didn't. I did. I learned it right from a book, right from a Learn to Knit book. It took 3 weeks of very hard work. Every single night I would come home from work. And instead of being stressed out over my day, I just sit there and teach myself how to knit.
Did you look forward to that learning?
I did.
Yeah.
It kept me motivated. It kept me going each and every single day to get through my day at work, no matter how stressful it was, and then to come home and refocus my mind on a project.
So do you remember the first thing you made?
Oh, I made this darling blanket. It was a beautiful Afghan I absolutely adored. It was a ripple Afghan. And my kids gave it to a stray cat to have kittens on. But it was a beautiful blanket.
Oh, that's funny. I love that your kids took your new project and donated it to a kitty. According to research, learning new skills creates neuronal connections that are good for the brain and increase well-being. What feelings did you have as a beginner? Were you excited, frustrated, maybe calm or proud? All of those?
Pretty much all of those. When you first get started when you're knitting, you're kind of apprehensive because you're thinking, wow, might be a little difficult, especially when you look at the structure of a piece of fabric that you're knitting. But as I was going and I kept just working on it, I found it to be relaxing. And the more you learn about it and the structure of your different fabrics and your fibers, you find it to be a very relaxing hobby.
Yeah, I can see that. Real quickly, before we go to our first commercial break, you and your husband opened your first yarn shop in Williamsport in 2013, and you moved it to Hagerstown in November of 2019, right before COVID hit. What was your reaction? What did you do?
Right when COVID hit, I kind of froze. It was the same feeling I had during the recession. Your whole body just kind of freezes, and you're thinking to yourself, oh no, what am I going to do now? And we kind of just stopped for 6 weeks, and I didn't do anything. Again, pandemic's completely new to the world. And all of a sudden, it came to my mind, I just need some new ideas. I still needed my business. I still needed the group activities and the studio time with my friends and the other clients that came into my store.
Great. Well, Melissa's first response to COVID was to put things on hold, but then she decided to fight back. And when we come back from this commercial, we'll hear more about that shop. Okay, we'll be right back.
Seems like everyone you meet today claims to be a content creator. Well, at Antietam Media Services, we're much more than just content creators. We're producers, directors, and editors that are never afraid to roll up our sleeves and bring our expertise to you. From full-blown live multicam productions live streamed to the world, to single-camera commercial production, we've got the gear, we've got the people, and we've got the drive to give your event or business the exposure it deserves. We've been doing this since 1981, and Antietam Media Services has produced tens of thousands of hours of live content and thousands of commercials that put your name on the networks and on the digital platforms that provide you the biggest return on investment. It's a big world out there, and we're ready to help you tell your story. Call, email, or log on to AntietamMediaServices.com and tell us more about your project. 4 decades of experience and never afraid of a challenge. We're Antietam Media Services.
14 years ago, he diagnosed her with cystic fibrosis.
Our doctors read charts and test results.
Knowing my family history, she screened me early for colon cancer.
They read medical journals and digital images. But the most important thing they read...
He put down the laptop, he looked me in the eye, and listened.
...are their patients. Meritus Medical Group. Home to your extraordinary doctor.
Before the break, Melissa told us how she discovered knitting as a way of coping with stress, which quickly became her passion. Her newfound love of knitting led to an entirely new entrepreneurial pursuit when she opened the Yarn Closet. Now Melissa wants to share that passion and empower others to explore crafting with yarns. So Melissa, can you tell us when you first opened up your shop after 6 weeks after COVID hit, you wanted to keep your business thriving. What were some of the things that you put into place that could support your business?
The first thing we did was we kind of looked at the windows and we decided we needed to inspire the community around us. Dawn, who works for us, she went ahead and decided to wrap up some yarn and put a little toilet paper display up there, even though it was just with yarn, just to kind of sympathize with the community at large. We then turned around and put together kits with patterns and yarn and started selling those. We would have takeout. People could just come up and tell us what they wanted, and we did a carry-out sort of thing, like a restaurant. And then we were also just put together a online store through Square and started selling our yarns and kits through there also. One of the things I really missed was my studio time with our group. So we decided to do some online studio time and put together Zoom. So now we start Zooming once, twice a week now with the different people who enjoy fibers.
That is terrific. That's great. You said that the fiber community comes together when the world becomes unforgiving. Can you explain what you mean by that?
You know, whenever we sit down and discuss things such as in our Zoom or in our yarn studio, we have a lot of deep conversations. And during this time of COVID, we've had many. We've learned a lot about each other. When your hands are busy and you're clicking away at your needles or with your hook or doing whatever crafting you're doing, you tend to open up and you tend to have conversations that you may not normally have just with somebody without your mind being distracted. And you kind of come together and come up with ways in order to cope through times that are lonely or when you're going through something that you just can't seem to get through without another person.
Yeah, and just sharing that with other people brings people together,
It
right?
does, it does.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I wanted to tell our audience in preparation for this interview, Melissa and I got chatting and we marveled how Primetime for Women's mission to celebrate, connect, and empower women from diverse backgrounds is simpatico with her goals as a business owner. So we're super excited to announce that Primetime for Women and the Yarn Shop have decided to partner on a creative new venture. To symbolize our mutual desire to promote unity and connection amidst adversity, we would like to invite all of our viewers and anyone else who's interested to crochet a 4 inch by 4 inch granny square and drop it off or mail it to the yarn shop. Volunteers there will stitch the squares together and create a one-of-a-kind afghan. By itself, a 4 inch by 4 inch square is a reflection of the person who made it, which is lovely. But once it's connected to hundreds of others, it becomes a symbol of togetherness, a beautiful expression of diversity, and a one-of-a-kind afghan that will provide tremendous warmth and comfort. So, Melissa, could you please tell our viewers how they can do that square, and if there's a certain pattern or certain yarn weight or hook that they're supposed to use?
Because everybody has different tensions whenever they're doing their crocheting, I prefer if you just use maybe just a worsted weight or a medium weight yarn. That would work best.
And give us those numbers.
It's like a number 4 yarn.
Number 4, okay.
And preferably something washable, like a super washed wool or acrylic, or maybe even a cotton would be good. Don't give us anything like a alpaca or a pure wool, because that would not wash well for the user. And then any pattern of a granny square works, because there's so many of them out there. But the whole end goal is to have it to be a 4 by 4 square.
That's great. So no certain hook size, because it depends on the person.
Yes,
right.
Depends on the person.
So Melissa, would you, this isn't an invitation just for those who are crocheting experience. You also have an idea of how people can learn how to do this through your shop.
Yep, and we'll probably be doing a few Zoom classes so you can go ahead and learn how to do a granny square, and we'll usually post it up on our Facebook page.
Okay, and I'll put it on Primetime for Women's Facebook page. So I am so grateful, Melissa, for you to be here on our show today. As we prepare to celebrate Thanksgiving, I want to express my gratitude for all the women who are strong enough to admit their vulnerability and courageous enough to know that along with others, they can make a better community and a better world. Like the Community Afghan, we are so much more when we come together. The Community Afghan will be raffled off with a portion of the proceeds going to benefit CASA. Those who submit at least one granny square will be automatically entered into the drawing to win the Afghan, and those interested in supporting the effort can purchase their ticket on eventbrite.com. Thanks for joining us for today's show. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy.